Hi, everybody. Landry Ethredge here with Ethredge Counseling Group and with Dr. Etta Gant here today to talk about a very common experience, and that is anxiety. Panic is closely related to
Mm-hmm.
all of this too.
Sure.
Um,
So yeah, panic is when the anxiety has like lost all control and really um takes you over and knocks you out, for lack of a better word, once you reach that panic attack. It can totally drain everything from you. And the feeling once the panic attack is over, yeah, you're glad it's over, but totally exhausting. It feels like it's just taken everything from you.
hmm Yeah. And panic attacks typically don't last all that long, but
Hmm.
they can have such a negative impact on your day-to-day life. It takes
Hmm.
up so much energy. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't wish a panic attack on anybody ever because it's just absolutely insufferable.
what's so interesting is I've heard a lot of people not know that they've had panic attacks, right? They're like, I went to the ER because I thought I was having a heart attack, and they told me I had a panic attack. A lot of people don't really realize how really dire a panic attack feels, and they think it's a heart attack or something else, that they're dying.
Yeah.
Um, Not knowing that, yeah, that's how bad a panic attack is. That's what it can feel
Mhm.
like.
Yeah. It's
Um,
turned into anxiety about this one thing to panic about your safety and well-being.
mhm.
Like, the worst thing is happening to you. It feels like you're dying.
Yeah.
It feels like the worst thing and that you have imagined is happening right now.
Yeah, and yeah, so panic attacks can be connected to trauma, which not everybody realizes.
Mm,
They might think, well, I mean, I only started having panic attacks this year. I can't have anything to do with my childhood.
mhm.
But actually, sometimes it does. Sometimes it does.
Totally.
It does have
Yeah.
its roots early on, because those early experiences sort of set the stage for panic to take
Mhm.
over in even
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
adulthood.
Or what your fears are like rooted in, or what safety is rooted in, or the lack thereof. And when some of that stuff presents itself in adulthood, or once you've reached the point in adulthood where you've just exhausted like all resources, that's when you're running on E, that's when the panic can start to come up and things from the
Mhm,
past start to pop up.
mhm. Yeah. Do you have any tips for dealing with panic attacks?
Yeah, and a lot of them are both preventative and in the moment, right? So when you feel it coming on, or just things that you do like daily to prevent it, but also things that come on, like things that you can do when the panic is there. Which, of course, one of the best things once panic starts is doing some deep breathing. And a lot of times that feels impossible in the moment. So it doesn't always feel accessible while you're in the midst of panic. But if you can do it, or if you can have like a friend kind of lead you through it, that's huge. And in general, box breathing is great for panic attacks because it's just very centering and grounding. You're doing the same thing over and over and over again. So for those that don't know, box breathing is taking 4 inhales in. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You're making a little box here. And then holding that inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, letting it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, holding it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then doing it again and again. And the most important thing is while you start getting your breath back, not breathing in just up here, but starting to breathe in into your diaphragm and letting it out here. And then if you're able to, getting it into your belly, that's where like the most action can happen. If you can take the deepest breath into your belly, most importantly being able to hold it for just a little bit and letting it out through your mouth, that's where a lot of the magic can happen to calm your nervous system, to bring you back
Mhm,
in.
mhm,
um, Another really great grounding technique in the midst of panic. So again, because some things like writing it out or drawing, might feel really inaccessible in that moment too, right? So the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So connecting to all of your senses. So starting with 5 things that you can see. And it's really helpful to have an adjective in that too. So blue cup, red phone, green plant, chipped fingernail polish. And yeah, and like getting really detailed, or maybe even things that are kind of funny too, to kind of like rope you back in. But you can always find 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can touch. So, your skin, the chair that you're sitting in, your hair. I mean, this is if there's literally nothing around you, but like right in here, there's lots of things around me. The napkin, the roughness of this lamp, the spikes on the brush, things like that. And then things you can hear. So the cars going by, the AC, the sound of my own voice. I mean, ideally, if you had some music or something, right? Like if things are more accessible, if you can touch a soft blanket, how amazing. If you can hear a song, even better. Connect to those things. But again, if there's nothing around you that's accessible, you always have the sound of your voice, you have the touch of your skin, things like that. And then 2 or 1 can kind of switch around. If you have food around you, then probably 2 things you can taste. And identifying that taste: sweet, apple, savory, turkey, whatever. I was just thinking about the lunch I just had. Or if there's literally nothing there, you can always just taste the weird taste of your own mouth. And you can say, weird taste of my mouth. And then what you can smell. So again, it depends on what's around you. There's a little candle right here.
Oh,
There's the smell of my
laundry detergent or something.
Yeah, laundry detergent. So it depends on what's around you. I think those 2 can be switched with what's around you. But again, all of those things connect you to your senses, connect you to your person, that gets you focused on a task that is very simple and totally unrelated to this panic. And yeah, you want to try to find things that are calming if you can. So scents that are calming, if that kind of stuff is around. But again, if nothing goes around, you just want to connect to something, any of your senses, to help ground you and bring you back to your person and the present moment.
I love that one. I love that you said attach an adjective to the things that you see. I've kind of done that with clients where I'll just say, like, what's the darkest color in this room? What's the lightest color in this room? Because if you're just trying to name 5 things you can see, it's easy to kind of to not really be grounded in the moment.
Well,
but looking for an adjective, you really have to think and be present and focus on something other than the rising panic. I love that one.
And some other things that are always good for anxiety, panic, preventing it or dealing with it while it's coming up is, of course, talking it out with someone you know and trust, writing it out, just getting word to paper. And so it's not just losing it up here in your head, and that can give you some clarity too. Doing something creative, drawing, cooking, graphic design, anything like that, exercise, movement, laughing it out with someone, whether you can find humor in the thing or not, just finding something to laugh about. It's huge. It's such a great release, especially if it's coming from the belly, just like in deep breathing into your belly helps to offer that relief. So yeah, there's lots more, but those are some great ones to try out.
Yeah. And I when you said write it out, I thought you said ride, like RID it out. That's one too, sort of in the moment, if you can remember that there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to every panic attack. So reminding yourself that even though I'm terrified in this moment, I know that I will be okay in the end. So every panic attack does have an end, beginning, middle, and an end. If you can gain a little bit of perspective in the moment and know that it's temporary, can be helpful. Not that makes it fun, but to remember that there's an end in sight. I love all of those. Yeah, those are tough ones. Yeah, and if you can kind of begin to notice those signs early on and kind of become a little bit more aware to your body sensations. I think a lot of people don't realize how stressed they are or how much anxiety has been building in the background throughout the day or from
Mhm.
unresolved stuff the day prior. So if you're kind of right, sometimes I'll ask clients like, are you on a scale of 0 to 10, where are you right now with stress or anxiety? And if you can kind of become aware of when you're moving from a 4 to a 5 and you start using some of those exercises early on before there's too much anxiety going on, you might be able to lower that level. But if you're kind of living life really oblivious to what's going on in your body and these little cues, you might be riding at an 8. Well, then it's just going to take, it doesn't take much for your body to go into panic because you've kind of already exhausted all of the margin that you had. Um,
Mhm.
but if you start to incorporate some of these tips, you can kind of nip some of that in the bud, I think.
Mhm.
Do you agree?
Totally. Yeah, that's the key is trying to prevent it from escalating and noticing, when things start to escalate, elevate, when your heart's beating faster, your chest is tighter, your stomach starts to feel nauseous, your arms might feel tight, your jaw, your head is kind of spinning, like you're just like lost in that like dizziness of the head of all the things to get done or do or whatever. Those are a lot of really common signs that you need to do something to kind of slow down and check in with yourself.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's not usually looking at your phone. A lot of times that's just like continuing checking out. I will say if laughter is your thing and there's going to be like, there's definitely like a hilarious like little reel or something to look at. Totally. Or if,
Yeah.
texting someone like how you're feeling or something like that. But in general, just scrolling, that's more of a checkout. But doing things
Yeah,
that
that's
check
more of a
in, yeah,
dissociation from
yeah,
versus like a true checking in. Yeah.
yeah.
That makes sense. Well, if anyone listening is interested in more tips, Ed read a really awesome blog post that's up on the website with a bunch more tips listed that you can give them a try and find what works for you and start bringing them into your daily practice. And I will add that a lot of these types of tips for panic attacks need to be practiced when you're not panicking first, because what I have seen happen is people only use these tools when they're panicking.
Mm-hmm.
And then their brain remembers that, oh, when I stop to do deep breathing, I'm going to panic. And it becomes a trigger for panic versus
Yeah.
a trigger for calm. So some of
Mhm.
these practices are really important to do on a daily basis when you're in a calm place so that you can use them when
Yeah,
you're feeling really overwhelmed, and they'll work because your brain has paired it with calm versus pairing it with panic.
yeah,
Um,
and they're just a lot more accessible when you've practiced doing it versus, "Oh, I'm panicking. What's that thing I'm supposed to do? 5 what?" Yeah,
yeah, and then of
like
course it's not going to work at that point. Yeah, for
totally.
sure.
Mhm.
Another great thing that helps is working with a therapist too. So I highly recommend working with Etta if you experience any anxiety, and most of us do.
Sure.
And some level of anxiety is normal and appropriate, right? Like a little bit of adrenaline helps me get out of bed in the morning when I know I have a busy day, or
Mhm.
but when it starts to become debilitating or affecting your like quality of life, um, yeah, it's
Yeah.
good to seek some.
Just working with any therapist on some of, like, the underlying issues, can help to just reduce that anxiety overall. The anxiety could be masking, some hurts and stuffed and stored emotions from the past or from the present, just not connecting with some of the maybe bigger issues or hurts, for lack of a better word, that are going on right now that anxiety is kind of covering up.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. Well, thanks so much for chatting about anxiety and panic. Another great topic.